Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and time yet again for another Austin Trench request. This time, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I might as well say my piece about the first movie. It was good. I prefer the Sam Raimi movies, but I still liked it nonetheless. But what about the sequel? Some say it's the worst Spider-Man sequel since Spider-Man 3. Then again, I'm one of the few people who actually like Spider-Man 3, but that's not the point. We're here to talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now for this review, I'm not going to do my typical caustic critic style of reviewing. Instead, I'll be analyzing the film through categories, mainly because so much stuff happens in this movie, it's hard to do a typical review of this thing. So let's start with the plot. It's exactly what you'd think it'd be. Spidey has some kind of drama going on in his personal life, in this case it's his romance with Gwen Stacy, all the while he has to deal with more like two, villains, Electro and the Green Goblin. Oh, and Rhino, I guess. It's cliched for a Spider-Man movie, but I don't mind it. I mean, we've seen the origin story so many times, it's not like we need to see it again, so this really didn't bother me. What did bother me is the runtime. This thing is almost 2.5 hours long. And I know they have to use some of the time to develop characters, but good God, stuff gets boring in this movie. As much as I like the romance between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, some of it comes off way too boring. Well then again, she's at least more competent than Mary Jane was. What I did like was the character arcs they had for Max Dillon and Harry Osborn. They start off as just regular troubled people, and then at the end we finally see them evolve into full-blown supervillains. Well, now that we know what it's about, what about the production? Some people complain that the Raimi movies' fight scenes are so choreographed and fake, whereas the newer ones come off as clean and good-looking. But for me, as good as they looked, some of them look like they just came straight out of a video game. I mean, look at that. It's so good, it looks like it's too good to be real. But I will admit this. The last fight scene in the movie is actually pretty cool. The whole end fight between Spider-Man, Electro, and Green Goblin is really badass looking, particularly the fact that they make the location look like a giant battery, which fits perfectly for Electro's character. But now, what about our characters? Well, this applies to the first Amazing Spider-Man, but I think that Andrew Garfield is really good as the character of Spider-Man, but I don't know, he's just too handsome to be Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire was the right level of nerdy for the role. And hey, as goofy as his sad scenes were, it's better than the level of this crap, which is just part of that trope in modern superhero movies that I hate. Heroes that have to pout. But again, as Spider-Man, he is the perfect level of heroic yet snarky. So much so, I think that if they ever do a Spider-Man Deadpool movie crossover, Garfield would be perfect for that. As for Gwen, I liked her. She's smart, independent, and only needs to be saved once. Beat that, Mary Jane. And I will say this, as much as I didn't care for all the romance scenes like I said earlier, this movie did pull a major snowball at the end of the movie. Okay, you ready for this? You ready? Gwen dies. Yeah, I was really not expecting that ending. I was expecting Gwen to come out completely unharmed, but wow, this movie grew 2 sets of balls in killing off a major character. Wow, and you know what? I would be lying if I didn't say that it did get me misty-eyed. But the thing that makes this movie for me are the villains. I like seeing Harry Osborn start off as that rich kid whose dad dies from some genetic family disease, and as the movie goes on, he gets this crazy idea that Spider-Man's blood will actually be able to heal him, which Spider-Man refuses, and he officially goes Kylo Ren and goes full-blown evil emo. And when he becomes the Green Goblin, he's the perfect level of psychotic yet tortured. He always has tears going down his face, as well as a demented smile, and it's perfect. And then there's Electro, also known as Max Dillon. He's an engineer at Harry's business, Oscorp. He's a big nerd that no one really pays attention to, and he has a huge obsession with Spider-Man once he saved him. And he gets turned into Electro by getting electrocuted and landing in a tank full of electric eels. Be glad this is a comic book movie, because if it wasn't, he'd be dead. And while I think Jamie Foxx did a really good job playing Electro once he goes all power crazy, I did not buy him as Max. I mean, come on. Jamie Foxx is good in either 2 roles. Badass or smooth. Look at this. He just is not made for nerd. Just look at that. He's not nerdy in the slightest. Oh yeah, there's also the Rhino. Well, I would talk about him, but he's only in 2 scenes. Yeah, only 2 scenes. That's pretty lame. And I can't even blame the actor, Paul Giamatti. He did a really good job in the role, but by God, that sucks. He was in 2 scenes, and the second one was to set up a fight scene between him and Spider-Man. And oh God, I kid you not, here's how it ends. You saw that, right? They just cut it off before anything actually happens. How much of a tease is that? Well, okay, what are my overall thoughts on this movie? The characters are pretty good, the action is fine, albeit it's a little too CG in a lot of spots, and the plot, as stock as it is for a Spider-Man movie, it's all good. If I had anything to complain about, I'd say that I hate the length of it the most. Again, it became terribly boring, the fact that it's only 2.5 hours long. I mean, at least Watchmen was 12 issues, so there was a reason that was almost 3 hours. But yeah, that's really my only major complaint about this movie. I don't love it, nor hate it. It's just very meh for me. I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
SpiderMan, SpiderMan, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the SpiderMan. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the SpiderMan.